Hey everyone, how's it going? SW Gaming here, and this video is going to finish the sequel trilogy of my level speculation series as we break down the last film in the Skywalker Saga and most recent, Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. This video is going to be the last level speculation for this month of May, and hopefully sometime within the next few weeks we're going to get that update on the Skywalker Saga that TT Games has said will be revealed sometime this summer. Either way, we're getting closer to more information, and I can't wait to continue updating everyone with the latest and most current information. Before we go any further, I just wanted to remind everyone that last week we took a look at the highly controversial Episode 8, The Last Jedi, and if you happen to miss it, I recommend checking it out through the link at the top right of the screen. The next 2 Wednesdays, we're more than likely going to be taking a break from the Skywalker Saga and looking at some rather scary and frightening Star Wars videos that LEGO has released in the past, so be on the lookout for those in the coming weeks, depending on any new Skywalker Saga updates that we may receive. When it comes to the sequel trilogy of the Star Wars franchise, I think that a lot of people would agree a lot of mistakes were made, and that Disney should have taken the story into a different direction, especially Episode 9 and bringing Palpatine back seemingly from nowhere. Now, don't get me wrong, the sequel trilogy did a great job introducing us to new characters and worlds, but in the process it really caused long-term damage to the films that came before Episode 7. I think one thing that we could probably all agree on, though, is that Kylo Ren and Finn were definitely two of the most interesting characters in this trilogy, but unfortunately, in terms of Finn, it seems like his story was sidetracked after Episode 7. Episode 9 tried to redeem what was undone in The Last Jedi, which really hurt the franchise in the long run, because it felt like this trilogy was really 2 films then and not 3. I think it was clear to see that Disney didn't have a clear vision in mind when planning out this new trilogy, but I think that TT Games will be able to save several parts of the films when transferring the original source material into a LEGO game. Out of all the possible scenes from the Rise of Skywalker, I'm most curious on the level layout of the final battle between Palpatine, Rey, and Kylo. Now, I know that the final level will include this and will be split up into several sections, but I'm really hoping that TT Games also decides to include the actual Force ghosts of the previous Jedi that call out to Rey during the final scene. Personally, it was such a disappointment not to see any of the actual former Jedi, especially Anakin himself, considering that we did get Yoda in Episode 8. It's like this entire trilogy just avoided Anakin and Darth Vader entirely, besides the callbacks to when Kylo attempts to speak to Vader through his destroyed helmet. It could have also been a great plot point if Anakin came to Rey during part of the story instead of Kylo, because that would have only fueled his rage in the end, and honestly, he should have been the main villain of this trilogy and not Palpatine. What's going to make this video more interesting is that this film has yet to make its appearance in a LEGO Star Wars game and into the TT Games franchise. For this video, I'm going to be relying on a lot of images and stills from the film, as well as previous LEGO sets, although not many have been produced besides vehicles. If I was able to find any LEGO videos related to the Skywalker Saga, or specifically the Rise of Skywalker, those might be included throughout as well. Now, if you've seen any of my previous level speculation videos, you can go ahead and skip this part of the video. You'll find a timestamp down below in the comments, which will start off with the first level in Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. If this is your first time watching a video in this series, please continue watching. To start off, I wanted to state that all comments and opinions reflected in this video come solely from myself. In each video of this series, I'll explain the levels associated with the selected episode from the Star Wars universe, what characters we could expect to be unlocked, what locations may be included in each episode, and much, much more. Now, what we know so far about the Skywalker Saga is that each episode will contain 5 levels each, which is down 1 from what we received in the complete saga back in 2007. Although we lose 1 level per episode, each level from the Skywalker Saga will be around 10 to 15 minutes long, more than likely without cutscenes, so we should expect a little over an hour's worth of playable content from each episode, not including side missions. Since we still have no footage or exact knowledge on how the game's travel system will work, it's still kind of up in the air as to how well the overall story layout and travel functions will mesh together. I still would like to see some sort of lobby though, such as the Mos Eisley Cantina, or even Dexter's Diner as an easier way to replay already completed levels. I know it's been previously stated that there won't be a lobby included like in previous games, but even The Force Awakens from 2016 had some sort of home base such as on Dakar, and I would like to see that continued in this game by possibly utilizing the Jedi Temple. Before we go ahead and begin with Chapter 1 of the Rise of Skywalker, I want to make it clear that this video is pure speculation and does not reflect any thoughts or comments previously expressed by the game's developers, TT Games. These level layouts will more than likely not directly reflect what we will see in the actual game, but I make these videos regarding what we could see once the game is released. Now, with all that out of the way, let's begin with Chapter 1 titled The Wayfinder. A lot of events occur before our heroes travel to the desert planet of Pisana in search of a Wayfinder that will help them to find Palpatine, who has revealed himself to be alive, as the dark side is a pathway to many abilities that some may consider to be unnatural. And don't think about it too hard, that's the only explanation that you get. Where TT Games will decide to actually start Episode 9 is hard to assume because this story jumps around so much from place to place. Since this is a speculation video though, I'm going to assume that this level will cover the three main parts of the opening to this episode. We could expect to start this level on Mustafar playing as Kylo Ren and Stormtroopers as we track down the Sith Wayfinder while destroying those that protect the remains of Vader's castle. A quick cutscene shows Kylo traveling to Exegol and speaking with Palpatine as we transition to Poe and Finn, who collect information about the First Order from Bulio, who unfortunately doesn't last very long. While escaping, the Falcon is attacked by numerous TIE fighters, and after making our escape, we switch over to Rey on Agent Kloss as her and BB-8 complete a Jedi training course. The next few levels in this episode should be more linear as they take place on different planets, but this movie jumps around so much, like I said, that it's really hard to predict what we should expect in the actual game. Chapter 2, Pisana Celebration, mainly consists of the speeder chase sequence from the film after the First Order has tracked the Resistance members to Pisana. With the help of a former friend, Lando Calrissian, our heroes escape towards the remains of Ochi's ship, who was once a Jedi hunter that killed Rey's parents while searching for her. The first part of this level consists of the speeder chase, and I'd imagine that the sequence will be very similar to the Episode 1 pod racing level, and that will have certain checkpoints throughout, but we'll try to defeat numerous waves of tread speeders and jet troopers who fly now. But it's not like jetpacks haven't been around since the Clone Wars or anything. Anyway, our heroes crash into a sandpit after evading the First Order, and the dagger is found, which will help lead them to another Wayfinder. The last part of this level is an encounter and mini boss battle with Kylo Ren. After crashing his TIE fighter, Rey and Kylo battle as the closing scene is triggered once Rey taps into the dark side and uses Force Lightning to destroy the First Order transport, which supposedly contained a captured Chewbacca. The level closes as we head towards Kojima, where Poe knows of someone that might be able to help. Chapter 3, Encounter on Kojima, reveals that the First Order have already occupied Kojima, as it seems that they completely gained control of the galaxy at this point. After landing, Rey, Finn, and Poe are caught by Zori Bliss, a former friend and love interest of Poe. She somewhat willingly agrees to help them as she guides them throughout the city, avoiding stormtroopers, but in order to make this level more interesting, let's throw some fights into the mix here and there until they reach Babu Frik's workshop. Once there, C-3PO's memory is reset for like the third time in this franchise, and he's able to transcribe the ancient Sith text written on the dagger. Now, the second part of this level takes place on the Star Destroyer looming over Kojima City, and after rescuing Chewbacca, Poe, Finn, and General Hux, who has secretly been feeding information to the Resistance in hopes of overthrowing Kylo, make their escape until reaching the Falcon. This level closes on a cutscene between Rey and Kylo as he reveals to her that she is the granddaughter of the Sith Lord Palpatine. I don't agree with it, but that's how it is. And we could also maybe expect another mini boss battle with Kylo during that sequence where their minds are linked once more. Chapter 4, Death Star Remains, starts after the Falcon has landed on a moon in the Endor system. As the title implies, this level will be spent focused solely on the Death Star Remains, and the majority of it will focus on the boss battle between Rey and Kylo. It seems like Rey and Kylo fight or encounter each other way too many times in this film, but this will be the main boss battle with Kylo. After discovering the remains of the Emperor's throne room from the Death Star 2, Rey encounters an evil shadow of herself, much like Luke did in Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. After receiving the Wayfinder, which is about to get destroyed, Rey is greeted to Kylo Ren and the duel commences. This battle is a lengthy one, as we do travel throughout various parts of the Death Star until making our way outside into the rocky waters, as Rey fatally defeats Kylo on a patch of the Death Star's exterior. We get a touching closing scene with Leia as Han appears to Kylo one last time, which is kind of weird to me because he obviously isn't a Force ghost, but isn't completely a physical figure either. But it's just added to the list of the things that don't really make sense with this movie. Anyway, the level ends with Rey, who has stranded herself on Act 2, which also doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever because she just leaves her friends to suffer due to selfish reasons. And I believe that the only reason this was added to the film was to somewhat amend Luke's character arc from The Last Jedi. Chapter 5, The Final Battle, has the potential to be one of the best levels not only from the sequel trilogy, but also from the entirety of the Skywalker Saga, if done properly. This level not only closes Episode 9 and the sequel trilogy, but also the entire Skywalker Saga, so I'm really hoping that's going to be one of the longest levels and feature numerous cutscenes. I'm not too sure if the scene with Rose, Janna, and Finn with the space horses will be included, but since it's just speculation, I'm going to throw it in there. The level starts off with Rey confronting Palpatine as he asks for her to strike him down. Kylo, now simply referred to as Ben Solo, is caught by the Knights of Ren as Rey is surrounded by royal guards and Sith Eternals. The level then switches over to Lando Calrissian and Chewie in the Falcon as the space battle commences. We could either play as the Falcon or post X-Wing, but both could be an option in terms of co-op mode. After destroying several of the Star Destroyer superweapons, the level switches over to Finn and Janna on the exterior of a Star Destroyer, defeating numerous waves of Sith troopers. The level then switches again over to Rey and Ben as they both respectively defeat their own enemies. Ben defeats the Knights of Ren and joins Rey to fight Palpatine for the final battle of the Skywalker Saga. After successfully defeating Palpatine, Ben is thrown down a pit much like how Palpatine was, and Rey, with the help of all the former Jedi, are finally able to defeat Palpatine and the Sith once and for all, at least as far as we know for now. I would still like to see the actual Force ghosts of the Jedi during the scene, especially Anakin, instead of just hearing their voices like I mentioned earlier. Ben saves Rey and then becomes one with the Force as everyone throughout the galaxy celebrates this newfound victory, although technically the First Order still remains and hasn't been fully dealt with, but that's another story for another time. Episode 9 ends as we're once again met with a completion screen that displays your personal stats for the game, in addition to all the new characters that have been unlocked. The closing cutscene shows Rey and BB-8 traveling back to the Lars homestead on Tatooine to bury the Skywalker lightsabers, having created her own, and then she declares herself a Skywalker. Okay. One thing that will be interesting though will be to visit the Lars homestead throughout the game to see if the appearance will actually change throughout time. The Skywalker Saga concludes on a rather optimistic, but extremely confusing note, as it honestly felt like nothing was accomplished. This, of course, is just my opinion though, so feel free to let me know your thoughts on the sequel trilogy as a whole down below in the comments. I always try to look at every comment and try to respond to some of them. I think it's safe to say that this trilogy did not play out as many people had hoped or expected it to, and that it was seen as an overall weak addition to the Skywalker Saga. I know that the main focus of the sequel trilogy really seemed to be on Rey, and that she found Leia and Luke to be a form of parental figures in some sense that she never had, but I do not believe that anyone should be able to call themselves a Skywalker. At the end of the day, this trilogy really should have focused on Kylo, as he does come from Skywalker blood, but that Rey should have had a better backstory to her overall involvement in this trilogy. Whether you love or hate the Rise of Skywalker, I think we could all agree that this episode will be fun to explore and play through because this is the first time it will be included in a LEGO game. I think TT Games has a lot in store and some tricks up their sleeves to help fix what problems this episode has, either through leaving them out or by introducing some comedic moments to help traverse this extremely rocky and rather divisive episode. Of course, we won't fully know what to expect, so we'll have to continue waiting for another update or until the game gets released. If you want to hear my full thoughts on the sequel trilogy as a whole though, I talk a little more about it at the end of the Force Awakens level speculation video. Next Saturday, June 6th, is going to be another recap video focused on this final trilogy of the Skywalker Saga. If I happen to miss anything that you believe should have been included in this episode, or should be included in next week's video, be sure to let me know down below in the comments. If you're not currently subscribed and would like to stay up to date on the remaining episodes in this series, or any of my other Skywalker Saga videos, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Once again, those videos release on both Wednesdays and Saturdays. With that said, this is going to wrap up today's video, and as always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.